All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to say Call Halal Yumla Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach the truth and sincerity. And Shalom to the 144,000, the hopeful elect, and the one third of you Akim and Aquav who listen in truth and sincerity. To you, I say Shalom. All right, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. All right, I want to do a quick lesson on the Sabbath day and how we observe it and how can we tell when it is the Sabbath according to the Bible. All right, first precept I want to bring out is Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Now, this is Exodus chapter 20 is where the 10 commandments are. So, keeping the Sabbath is part of the 10 commandments. All right, Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day and to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. All right, so we got to keep the Sabbath day holy, which means the things we do on regular days we can't do on the Sabbath, or we shouldn't do on the Sabbath because we got to keep it separate. Keep it holy means to keep it separate. All right. So before I continue on with this, let's find out how can we tell when is the Sabbath? All right, let's go over to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. And Yahweh said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. All right, so the lights of the heavens, or the lights in the firmament of heavens, are the sun, the moon, and the stars. So we use these things to tell time and to tell when things are going to happen or things seasons. You could use time to tell when a season is coming. All right. All right. This is Psalms chapter 104 and verse 19. It's a precept to back up Genesis 1. He appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knoweth his going down. All right. The moon is used to tell time. Even the sun is used to tell time. Like back in the ancient days, before there was clocks and watches, they used sundials where they put an item on the ground. Not an item, but something like a compass point, sort of. But it stays still. It doesn't move, and the sun goes around it. And when the sun rotates around it, you can tell what time it is depending on the shadow of the point. All right, there's another precept to back up the moon tells the time, or the moon is what the moon is. Blow up the Salakia, Psalms chapter 81 and verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. All right, so this says that the new moon is a solemn feast day. So it's an example of using the moon to tell a time. Now, a solemn feast day is a Sabbath. It's the same thing. So the new moon is a Sabbath day as well. All right, so let's go back to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath and to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord Yahweh thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Alright, so Exodus 20 and verse 10 says the seventh day of the week is the Sabbath day. So the new moon and the seventh day of the week are Sabbath days. And weeks begin, new moons tell time as a new month. A new moon is a new month. So 7 days after the new moon is a week, or 7 days. The new moon and 7 days it's a week. So on the seventh day after the new moon is another Sabbath day. All right, let's prove that in Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 and verse 6. The book of Sirach chapter 43 and verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. Verse 7. For from the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name. All right, so the word month comes from the word moon. And if you read it, the 1611 King James Version of the Bible in Old English, month and moon are almost spelled identical. It says Moneth, I believe. I could be wrong, so I'll give. All right, Sirach chapter 43 and verse 8. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully and are changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. All right, so the new moon is the beginning of a new month. So once the new moon is there, it's a Sabbath day. 7 days after that, Sabbath day. 7 days after that, Sabbath day. 7 days after that, Sabbath day. And then 7 days after that, Sabbath day. Until the next new moon. So now you may have times where you have back-to-back Sabbaths, where you'll have the 7th day, and after that 7th day will be the new moon. So you have the 2 days of Sabbath in a row. That happens for many months out the year. All right. So now let's go back to Exodus chapter 20, verse 10. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord Yahweh thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. All right, so when it is the Sabbath, you can't do any work, your children can't do any work, your manservant, which is your butlers, and your maidservants, which are your maids, they're not supposed to be working. Your cattle's not supposed to be working. You're not supposed to be doing any farming, anything. Anything regarding labor, it shouldn't be done. And verse 11 explains that, for in 6 days the Lord Yahweh made heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. All right. So he sanctified that day and made it holy. Now, of course, we go off. If we're in Babylon, we're in captivity. So if we have to go to work, we got to do what we got to do. But this is why we need a Yahweh Shai to be the sacrifice, to be forgiveness of sins, for grace. Because if we all went by the law to the T, I mean, if we were judged by the law, then we should be put to death for breaking the Sabbath. All right, and let's prove that in Exodus chapter 30, starting from the top. Exodus chapter 35, starting from the top. And Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together, and said unto them, these are the words which the Lord Yahweh hath commanded, that ye should do them. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you an holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord Yahweh. Whosoever doeth work therein shall be put to death. All right, so the punishment according to the law for profaning the Sabbath day is a death penalty. There's no fine or nothing. It's straight death. All right, continue on. Exodus chapter 35, verse 3. You shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. All right, so not only can you not work on the Sabbath, you can't technically cook either. I mean, you could prepare food and put it together, but you can't turn on fire, no microwaving, no ovens. So, because you can't kindle any fires on the Sabbath day. All right. And the punishment for profaning the Sabbath is death. All right. And let's go into another thing you can't. All right. So far you can't work and you can't cook or set any fires or kindle any fires on Sabbath days. All right. So let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 20, starting at verse 24. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. All right, so remember, the new moon and Sabbath days are feast days. So when the new moon was here, the king was ready to eat his Sabbath day meal or feast, prepared before the new moon came. All right, verse 25. And the king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. All right, this is going into when I believe Saul was attempting to kill David, so he was expecting David to be at the Sabbath day meal, but he wasn't there. As we read before, he hid himself in the field, and Jonathan knew it too, so Jonathan was in and hiding him. All right, continue on, verse 26. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything of anything that day, for he thought something hath befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. All right. So he thought since David wasn't at the new moon, David being an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, he thought since he wasn't there, something must have happened to him where he wasn't clean. And what makes you unclean? We're going to get into that in a minute. All right. So from here, let me jump to Isaiah chapter 66, starting at 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord Yahweh. And they shall, Salakia, oh, wrong precept. Wrong precept. But that's still a point, though. The new moon is the Sabbath. But this is what I wanted to get. Isaiah chapter 58, started at verse 13. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord Yahweh, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. All right, so we got to refrain from our own ways and our own pleasures on the Sabbath day. All right, verse 14. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord Yahweh, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord Yahweh hath spoken it. Alright, so if we if we keep the Sabbath holy, then we're going to get blessed for it, especially in the kingdom. But the kingdom, everybody's gonna practice the Sabbath in perfection, or Israel will. But the point I'm bringing with this is to link it up with 1 Samuel, is that Saul assumed that David wasn't clean, and that's why he wasn't at the new moon feast, the Sabbath feast. And how do you become unclean is doing pleasurable things, finding your own pleasure. Now, in the law, let me go to the law really quick. It says that what makes you unclean, or one of the things that makes you unclean. All right, this is Leviticus chapter 15 and verse 16. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then shall he wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until even. And every garment and every skin whereon the seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the evening. The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they both shall bathe themselves in water and be unclean to eating. So now what Saul was saying was David wasn't at the feast, so maybe he was unclean. He was basically saying, oh, he must have sex and made himself unclean and profaned the Sabbath. That's why he's not here. Because in the law, the seed of a man makes you unclean. And let's go into what the seed is. Salakia, internet running kind of slow today. Leviticus 15 and 16. Let's look into the Hebrew word, what seed is. Because seed could mean many things, but let's see what it means as it is written. Salakia. Alright. The word seed is Strong's H2233. Now in Strong's you either see H or G in front of the number, H meaning Hebrew and G meaning Greek. Alright. Seed, sowing, offspring, or sowing, seed, semen. Alright. So that's what the seed is. Strong H23 Zerah.
Strong's H2233.
Zerah.
Zerah.
And it's talking about semen there. Alright, so we can't do any work on the Sabbath. We can't kindle any fires, or especially from a stove, oven, microwave. You can still eat. You just gotta prepare your food before the Sabbath begins. Or if you cooking hot food, or you just make sandwiches, eat fruits and vegetables, cereal. There's plenty of things you can eat because it's a feast day. Of course, you gotta eat. All right, so can't work, no fire, no cooking, no sex on the Sabbath. All right, or the punishment is death according to the law. So let's go to what we can do on the Sabbath. All right, this is Matthew chapter 12, starting at verse 9. And when he was departed thence, he went into their synagogue, and behold, there was a man which had in his hand withered, Salakia. And they asked them, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? That they might accuse him. So now this is when the Pharisees were trying to set up Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, to try to set him up, see if he was breaking the laws. Because before Yahushua was on the scene, the Pharisees were the stars because they were masters of the law. But they were wicked people. Most of them were wicked. There were some righteous Pharisees, or some seeking the truth and sincerity. But for the most part, it was just like having priests these days who don't spread the truth, but they have mega churches. It's just the same thing. But if one of the elders from GMS was standing outside the church, only a select few would listen to him, compared to the hundreds or thousands of people inside the church, just to the pastor preaching prosperity instead of the truth. That's the same thing what Pharisees are today. All right, continuing on in Matthew 12 and 11, and he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Alright, so it's lawful to do good on the Sabbath days. This right here, Yahushua is asking, if you guys only had one sheep, and if that sheep fell into a pit, you're not going to leave it there until the sunset, until the Sabbath day wasn't over. No, you will go get it as soon as you can. So it's okay to do good on the Sabbath. It's okay to do well on the Sabbath. All right, let me continue on, finish the point. Verse 13. Then saith he to the man, Stretch forth thine hand, and he stretched it forth, and it was restored like as the other. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him. But when Yahushua knew it, he withdrew himself from thence, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them all. All right. So Yahushua was doing good on the Sabbath because Yahushua was the Lord of the Sabbath, as it says earlier in this chapter, for the Matthew 12 and 8, for the Son of Man is Lord of even of the Sabbath day. But again, he was explaining what David did, and how they try to say he profaned the Sabbath, but he was using the Old Testament as an example. All right, Salakia. There's one more point I wanted to bring out. All right. 1 Samuel chapter 21 verse 2. And David said to Ahimelech the priest, The king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee. and I have appointed my servants to such and a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under my hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. All right. He didn't have regular bread. He had holy bread. Now, if the young men have kept themselves from women. All right. Continuing on. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, though it was sanctified this day, the vessel. So the priest gave him the hollow bread, for there was no bread there but the shew bread that was taken from before the Lord Yahweh to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. All right, so the point I wanted to bring out was that the priest asked if the young men were clean, basically, they could have the holy bread. But what would make them unclean is if they had sex and didn't take a shower, and it was the same day. So, but David said, "Yeah, they haven't had women in 3 days, so they're clean." All right, that's why I want to bring it out. So, on the Sabbath day, you can't. Just a quick recap. On the Sabbath day, you can't work. Nobody in your house can work. No, your slaves can't work. Your servants can't work. Nothing. No work. No fires. And no sex on the Sabbath. But you can do well. So, let's say if one of your neighbors came to you in distress, saying, "Yo, help me! I need your help. Loan me $20 so I can get to work for gas or something like that." You could give them the $20 because you're doing well on the Sabbath. It's okay to do good on the Sabbath, even though if you can't go spend that $20 and go buy a shirt. You can't go shopping on the Sabbath, but you can spend your money if it's to do good. All right. And if you get money, if you want to tithe, you could tithe on the Sabbath too. It's okay. That's hope. Well, that's it with that. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying about the Sabbath and when it is, and how we observe it. But until next time.